Welcome to the 2020 New Testament Challenge. Today we're in 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Now Paul, in this letter, he's dealing with issues that are affecting the church there in Corinth. And in chapter 6, he deals with two. One are lawsuits in the church, and two, sexual immorality that's there in the church. Now the church is to be a witness to the world. The world should see what love really is because of the church. They should see righteousness, they should understand forgiveness, and they should see justice because of how the church deals with issues. The saints will be called one day to be judges. Here he says in verse 2 that we will one day judge the world. And then in verse 3 he says that the church will actually judge angels. So we need to be judging correctly, and we need to start and do it here within the church. There was a situation that I was involved in Reading, Pennsylvania many years ago. I was directing a nonprofit organization. We had a treasurer that stole money from that nonprofit. The president of the board and myself went to his home. We confronted him and he agreed. He confessed to what he had done. The church that he was a part of dealt with this situation correctly. The church was really the church at that very moment. What did the men of that church do? They gathered around this man, and they not only raised money themselves to pay back what he took from the nonprofit, but then they surrounded him with accountability and then with redemption. The whole purpose was to bring him back into the fellowship and to help him deal with this issue so that then he wouldn't do it any longer. His life would have been changed. The church dealt with this issue correctly. We didn't go outside the church, but the church moved and dealt with this within its own body, and they did it correctly, and God was honored through it all. The church focused on righteousness and redemption. The second part that Paul does here in chapter 6 is dealing with sexual sin. In verses 18 to 20, listen to what he says. Flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a man commits are outside his body, but he who sins sexually sins against his own body. Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your body. Sexual sin is different than other forms of sin. Intimacy with someone else is not just physical, but it's spiritual as well. Two are becoming one. Your body is physical, but it's also spiritual. And as Christians, our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are not our own. We were bought with a price. Jesus paid for us with his blood and with his life. Therefore, Paul is saying, honor God with your body. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Therefore, treat your body with respect. And do not do things that will destroy your body, because God's very Spirit is living within you. Honor God with your body. Within the church, there should not be lawsuits because the world is watching. They need to see how we deal with issues in the correct biblical way. When we do, God is honored. And the second is to do not be involved in sexual sin, because your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Thank you for joining the 2020 New Testament Challenge.